Hello and welcome to the Movie Zone channel. Today, we're going to review the 2025 movie Werewolves. At the beginning of the movie, we see Dr. Arenda explaining during an interview that a perfect moon refers to a full moon that orbits close to Earth. While this can happen multiple times a year, last year's event was drastically different. During that supermoon, about 1 billion people transformed into werewolves for the entire night. No one knows the exact reason for this transformation, but another supermoon is set to occur tonight. Because of this, Arenda warns everyone to stay indoors and avoid exposure to the moonlight. He assures that scientists are working non-stop for 24 hours to find a cure for those already infected. Meanwhile, Wesley, a former military officer, takes on the responsibility of protecting his niece Lucy and a girl named Emma after his brother's death. Using his survival knowledge, he sets up traps, including bear traps outside the house, electric fences, and security cameras all around. While securing the house, Wesley hears his neighbor, Cody, practicing shooting with his gun. Wesley warns Cody that kids are playing in the street, but Cody dismisses it, saying that werewolves have already destroyed Japan and Australia. Around the same time, their neighbor, Regan, visits to bring Emma a meal in honor of her late father's death anniversary. In return, Wesley gives her extra batteries and some pepper spray. After Regan leaves, Wesley tells everyone to lock the house completely. He sets strict rules. No opening doors for anyone. No making noise. No drawing attention to themselves. Shoot werewolves on sight without hesitation. In the middle of the city, the military has taken control of the streets. With the curfew approaching, a bus service has been launched to transport homeless individuals to safe locations. Wesley remains highly cautious, carefully observing everyone on the streets, especially anyone who appears suspicious. When Wesley arrives at the CDC base, Arenda introduces him as the leader of the response team dealing with the werewolf outbreak. He also introduces the team's lead molecular biologist and researcher. The second key member of the team is Evan, while Mimi is an Anis lupus, biologist specializing in studying the transformation. Arenda explains that the supermoon is causing mutations in human DNA, making people highly sensitive to moonlight. Tonight, the CDC hopes to find a cure to stop people from transforming due to this mutation. Arenda states that the team has already developed a substance called moonscreen, which can act as a barrier between moonlight and human DNA. He believes that if today's tests go well, they can develop it into a full treatment. As the meeting concludes, Arenda instructs everyone to stay indoors, lock their doors securely, and avoid moonlight exposure. Once everyone enters the base, all exits are sealed. Amy notices that Miles, her former lover who transformed into a werewolf last year, has arrived at the base. It appears that he has willingly volunteered to be a test subject because he wants to help save people from this condition. Knowing that werewolves instinctively seek protection when a supermoon occurs, Miles is placed in a cage with a reinforced collar around his neck. Wesley, Evan, and the other scientists wear specialized protective suits, which include screens displaying the vital signs of the test subjects inside the cages. The scientists begin the experiment by applying a few drops of moonscreen to the test subjects' eyes before covering their entire bodies with the substance. One of the volunteers becomes frightened and decides she no longer wants to participate. However, the scientists ignore her protests, as they need willing test subjects. As the volunteers grow anxious, Miles tries to calm them down. When the experiment proceeds, the facility is exposed to moonlight, but surprisingly, the subjects do not transform. This confirms that moonscreen is working. Arenda immediately orders samples to be taken and mass production to begin. As Wesley and Arenda analyze the samples, they realize that the mutation in human DNA acts as an immune response and internal defense mechanism. They conclude that the supermoon suppresses this protective system, but they still don't understand why this genetic mutation only began occurring last year. Suddenly, Miles starts to transform, indicating that moonscreen's effects only last about 60 minutes. Evan tries to reapply the moonscreen to him, but Miles grabs his wrist, resisting. He begins to fully transform, and at the same time, the other test subjects also start changing. Amy urgently orders the containment chamber to be sealed, but Miles, in his werewolf state, pushes one of the machines, causing it to topple over and crash into a series of other machines. This creates a massive malfunction in the circuitry, leading to a complete power outage in the base. The security containment fails, and the test subjects start breaking free. As the transformation spreads rapidly, explosions erupt throughout the facility. destroying equipment and releasing the werewolves. Scientists scramble in a desperate attempt to escape. In the chaos, an explosion damages Orenda's protective suit, exposing his skin to direct moonlight. As a result, Orenda's DNA also begins to react. Wesley grabs him while Evan, feeling dizzy, desperately searches for a sedative. But unfortunately, he doesn't find it in time. Orenda's transformation completes, his protective suit tearing apart as his body grows larger. In his monstrous form, he strikes Evan with his claws. A scientist fires a shot at him, forcing him to retreat, but the bullet accidentally hits one of the cages, causing it to open. With blood pouring from his wounds, Evan is carried to another room by Wesley. Meanwhile, the other werewolves break free and begin slaughtering the scientists around them. The combination of smoke from explosions and the power outage makes it difficult to see, but that doesn't stop the werewolves from attacking and killing both the scientists and each other. One werewolf grabs a scientist, smashes a window, and throws him outside. The remaining staff members try to escape through the corridors, but the werewolves quickly catch up and massacre everyone in their path. Amidst the chaos, Wesley and Amy reunite, their fear growing as they watch the horror unfold. As they try to unlock a door, a werewolf drops a fresh corpse in front of them and advances toward them. Fortunately, they manage to open the door just in time and slam it shut before the werewolf reaches them. A soldier fires at the werewolf, killing it. Wesley and Amy attempt to treat Evan's wounds, but it's already too late. He has lost too much blood and dies in front of them. Devastated, Amy insists on searching for Miles, but Wesley stops her, reminding her that Miles has fully transformed into a werewolf, and there's nothing she can do for him now. Amy, however, believes they should stay put and wait for help. Wesley warns her that all remaining staff have likely fled, and the werewolves will find this location soon. He says they have only minutes before the creatures break down the door. Meanwhile, near the city, distant screams fill the air as power outages spread throughout the area. Reagan, struggling to find her mother, hears strange noises nearby. Unbeknownst to her, a werewolf is lurking in the kitchen. Lucy, monitoring security cameras, sees werewolves running through the streets. She watches in horror as one of them climbs a tree and leaps toward Cody's house. Cody fires his gun through the window, but none of the bullets harm the werewolf. The beast smashes through the glass and leaps into Cody's home, exposing him to direct moonlight. Almost immediately, his DNA reacts, and he too begins to transform. Back at the base, Amy and Wesley narrowly escape from werewolf attacks and reach the armory. They quickly gather as many weapons as they can carry. Before setting out, they apply moonscreen to their eyes and synchronize their watches, setting a 60-minute timer their only window of safety. Determined to survive, they make a final decision. They will move forward no matter what. As they were leaving, Miles found them, but Emmy shot at the light to distract him, allowing them to escape without having to kill him. They ran quickly, found Wesley's car, and sped away. While Wesley was talking to Lucy, she informed him about what she had seen on the cameras. At the same time, Regan stepped outside her house. Since the werewolf had killed her mother, she was in extreme distress and begged Lucy for help. Lucy agreed to let her come to their place. Although Lucy wanted to help, Wesley reminded her that opening the door was extremely dangerous. While they were arguing, a werewolf attacked Regan and killed her. The sound of her screams distracted Wesley for a moment, and unfortunately his car crashed into a parked bus. The call was cut off, leaving Lucy in shock as she heard Regan's agonizing cries. It was then revealed that the werewolf attacking her was none other than Cody, the man from the neighboring house. Even though he approached their barricade, he was electrocuted before he could get too close. Lucy, seeing him on the cameras, used pepper spray to push him back. Meanwhile, inside the vehicle, Wesley and Emmy tried to escape before the car exploded. Wesley realized that he had left his phone inside, but before he could retrieve it, the car was about to explode, forcing him to pull Emmy away. Now, with no other option, the two of them started walking on foot. As they moved forward, they noticed several werewolves rampaging through the area, destroying vehicles. To avoid being seen, they carefully sneaked past the wreckage. However, more werewolves were approaching from the other side of the street, leaving them surrounded. Their only option was to hide under a vehicle. One of the werewolves even got close enough to shift the vehicle slightly, but luckily, it didn't spot them. After a while, the werewolves left the area. Just as Wesley and Emmy emerged, their watches beeped, reminding them to reapply the moonscreen. Unfortunately, the sound attracted the werewolves, who immediately started chasing them. With no other choice, the two sprinted away. Emmy noticed that a shopping mall's gate was closing, so they rushed inside at the last moment, narrowly making it through the doors. The enraged werewolves continued to pound on the door relentlessly. At that moment, a young boy spotted them and told them to follow him. Wesley and Emmy quickly followed the boy and soon discovered a large group of people guarding a secured gate inside the shopping mall. It was then that Wesley realized the mall had an underground tunnel that could be used to escape the city safely. However, before they could make a move, Emmy suddenly felt a blade pressed against her neck. A group of masked individuals had surrounded them and began threatening them. Remaining calm, Wesley explained that they only wanted to reunite with their family and had no intention of causing trouble. Near an underground door, they carried Meg there. While Lucy rechecked the cameras, she saw that the neighboring werewolf Cody was shouting to call more werewolves to the area. A few minutes later, even though Emmy and Wesley managed to reach the other side, werewolves suddenly appeared behind them. They tried to shoot, but one of the werewolves knocked them down and kept attacking Wesley. He was thrown to the ground and struggled to get back up. However, he managed to grab a metal rod nearby and stab it into the werewolf's heart, killing it. But before dying, the werewolf's blood splattered onto Wesley's body. A short while later, as Emmy and Wesley prepared to leave, they realized they needed to reapply moonscreen. Unfortunately, the cooling function of the moonscreen had stopped working, so applying it to their eyes was useless. Spotting a nearby supermarket, they quickly decided to run towards it. As they broke through the supermarket window and entered, the alarm system went off. Emmy acted fast and destroyed the alarm before the werewolves could hear it. Wesley placed the sunscreen into the fridge to restore its effectiveness, forcing them to wait until it was ready. Meanwhile, in the city, werewolves began destroying Lucy's house cameras one by one. The group checked if the power to the gate was still functioning by continuously touching it. Since they all touched it at the same time, the house's power started dimming. Hearing the sound, Lucy quickly reloaded the shotgun before checking the cameras. She saw werewolves pushing a tree against the fence to break through. As a section of the fence collapsed, the house's power went out completely. However, Wesley had placed multiple flashlights around the house in advance. As Lucy and Emma ran around, they turned on all the flashlights, lighting up the area. One of the werewolves got caught in a bear trap, and Lucy heard others climbing onto the roof. She quickly ran to a room and began shooting through the ceiling to stop them from entering. At first, it seemed to work, but she soon ran out of bullets and had to reload. Meanwhile, Wesley noticed the group of masked people coming back outside after applying moonscreen. To their surprise, the masked people began hunting the city's werewolves. Wesley tried to ask for their help, but they didn't trust him. They debated whether moonscreen could prevent the werewolf DNA reaction. While they were arguing, a werewolf suddenly attacked and killed one of them. The rest of the group immediately started shooting at it. As Wesley and Emmy hid behind a vehicle, another werewolf arrived and killed another member of the group. In the chaos, one of the bullets hit the car window, and Emmy was briefly stunned. Seeing this, Wesley rushed to protect her while shooting at the approaching werewolves. Just then, a massive werewolf appeared and killed the man holding the Gatling gun. Emmy realized that the werewolves were slowly surrounding them. Before they could be slaughtered, she believed that as long as they had moonscreen on, the werewolves wouldn't actually attack them. To test her theory, she stepped out from her hiding place voluntarily. A large werewolf noticed her scent and struck her in the stomach with its claws, but it didn't kill her. As she screamed, the werewolves howled in response. Seizing the moment, Wesley climbed onto a truck and used the fallen Gatling gun to kill the massive werewolf. With their leader gone, the smaller werewolves panicked and fled the scene in fear. Then he got into the vehicle and told Amy to get in quickly. But as she got closer to the vehicle, another werewolf appeared and abducted her. Wesley looked around, but he couldn't find her. Realizing he didn't have time to search for her, and with a heavy heart, he decided to drive away. Meanwhile, Lucy hadn't stopped shooting at the werewolves through the attic window. When one of them climbed up to her room, she fired at it, creating a large hole in the attic wall. Light streamed into the house, forcing the werewolf back. However, it soon charged toward the door, trying to break it down. Lucy shot at it again, but she soon ran out of bullets. Grabbing a knife in one hand and a can of pepper spray in the other, she prepared for a fight. A moment later, a werewolf crashed through the window, shattering the glass. Lucy and Emma ran toward the bedroom to hide, but the werewolf followed closely behind, just seconds away from catching them. Suddenly, the sound of a car horn echoed outside. Looking out, Lucy saw Wesley arriving in his truck, honking loudly to draw the werewolves' attention. Wesley increased the vehicle's speed and drove straight into the werewolves, killing several of them. However, the largest werewolf leaped onto the truck, trying to stop it. In response, Wesley rammed the vehicle straight into the neighbor Cody's garage. Inside the bedroom, Lucy and Emma thought it was all over, but at that very moment, a werewolf broke through the wall, entering the house. The two of them tried to run, but Lucy quickly hid Emma inside a closet, handing her the pepper spray for protection. Then she stood behind the door, waiting. The werewolf sniffed around and eventually found Emma, smashing the wooden closet door apart. Terrified, Emma struck the creature with the pepper sprayer. Meanwhile, another werewolf entered the room, forcing Lucy to jump on it and stab it with her knife. However, the werewolf easily overpowered her, throwing her across the room. Just as it prepared to attack, Lucy grabbed the fallen knife and stabbed it again. The werewolf let out a loud howl, and Lucy grabbed a nearby axe, delivering the final blow and killing it. A few hours later, Wesley managed to reunite with his family. However, they realized that one of the werewolves he had hit with the truck was still alive. He told them to hide, knowing they only had 15 minutes left until sunrise. Without any bullets left, Wesley knew he had only one option. Saying a final goodbye to his family, he set an alarm for 15 minutes on his watch and handed it to Lucy. As Wesley stepped outside, he noticed Cody, now fully transformed into a werewolf, waiting for him. Without hesitation, Wesley locked eyes with the moon and began to transform as well. Now a werewolf himself, he engaged in battle with Cody to protect his family. Wesley was far stronger than Cody, taking him down with just a few powerful blows. Inside the house, Lucy watched in fear through the hole in the wall. Shaken by what she saw, she quickly hid Emma inside the closet. As she did, she spotted a single bullet lying on the floor. Picking it up, she loaded it into her shotgun and pleaded with Wesley to remember his family. However, her words had no effect on him. Desperate, Lucy then showed him a picture of their family, hoping to bring him back to his senses. But even that didn't work. Wesley growled and lunged toward her, causing Lucy to stumble and fall. Realizing she had no other choice, she prepared to shoot him. Just then, Wesley's watch alarm began to beep, signaling that 15 minutes had passed. Instead of shooting him, Lucy turned and fired at the window, allowing sunlight to flood into the room. The bright light forced Wesley to revert to his human form. As he transformed back, marking the end of the film,